What's up everybody, it's AJ with etrailer.com. Today we're going to check out the Malone EcoLight trailer with the Post Kayak Accessories on top. It's going to be a great way to haul a bunch of different kayaks. If you're hauling up to 2, it's fine, it leans against the post and straps down, but you can actually maximize this trailer out to 4. So we'd add another kayak to each side, still be able to strap them down and get them to your destination. Let's check it out. Now I did say post style, and I just want to explain what I mean by that. There's a bunch of different ways to carry your kayaks on your roof or trailers, usually J style, hull style, where they hold it. This is called post style, so it's just straight up and down in over a trailer, or it would go on the middle of your roof rack on your roof too, and you just kind of lean the kayaks up against it and then use the straps to go around the bars here, around itself, pull it tight so it's pulling it down to the trailer, and then the blue one's pulling it towards the posts. So that way, there's 2 points of security here, keeping it down on this trailer. And it's mainly, people do this one to haul like 4 kayaks. So, you know, J-style kayak carrier, you could probably only get 2 of them on here, or on the roof of your vehicle. With this post style, you get them up on their sides, and you can fit more on there. So I think this trailer is gonna hold up to 4 maximum with the post style, but still, that's 4 kayaks that get you where you're going. Coming down to the base of our post here, I want to show you the pads it also comes with. You'll get 8 of these, 2 for each kayak you're carrying. So just wanted you to know that it's not just sitting on these top bars and getting strapped onto that to where it could scratch it or damage your kayak. You got these nice thick pads that this is pulling down on and helping protect your kayaks and your trailer from any scratching or anything like that. Now I will say, when you put these on before you attach the kayak, it might be a little worrisome. Is this going to stay on? It doesn't seem like it'll stay on its own, but when you put the kayak on there and strap it down, it's not going anywhere. So I suggest taking these off when you don't have a kayak on there. So if you just have your trailer, I would just go ahead and throw these in your vehicle or store them in the kayaks, wherever you store those, when you're done. I like that Malone really gave you the complete package with this post style kayak carrier. You get the post, you get all the straps, you get the pads to protect the trailer, all included with this trailer. So you don't really need to get anything else, and that's awesome. I don't have to recommend you picking up extra stuff, because you've already bought this trailer with this kit. You don't want to have to buy anything else. Something to keep in mind when you're loading up your trailer is it can handle up to 400 pounds. So even with the 4 kayaks on there, we're not going to max that. I don't have to worry about something like that. Also, the max length would be 14 feet. Our longest kayak here is 12, so it shows you we got plenty of room in between the vehicle and our trailer and our kayaks. There's not going to be any issues there, and that's because of the extended reinforced tongue here. So not only is it just this long to keep it away from your vehicle, but it's also reinforced right here, so you don't have to worry about any weak points in this long piece of steel. So you might be a little worried about hauling a trailer behind your vehicle. Maybe you've never done it before. Maybe you think you just don't want that extra hassle. But one of the positives I want to point out is when you're loading it, if you could put the post style on your roof, but then you have to lift that kayak up on your roof. So I'm not the tallest guy in the world. The weight's not the problem. It's getting it up there and getting that strap down. So then I have to stamp on the tire, stand up in a door frame, throw straps over, catch them, bring them down. That's a whole lot of hassle. It is way easier to take it from waist level, set it into place, be right here, run my straps right here through the center post and everything. I'm not climbing or trying to do a balancing act while I'm doing it. It's way easier this way. I really like having it on the trailer versus on the roof. Another thing I'd be worried about is how the trailer is going to hold up. So we're going to do some laps around the parking lot and see how it performs. Now it does say that it shouldn't go over 70 miles per hour. We're certainly not going to do that in the parking lot today, so you guys shouldn't either. Let's check it out. Looks like it handled our parking lot / test course pretty well. Now you did see it jump up a little bit when we went over the speed bumps, but it's meant to do that. It's okay. It's got a leaf spring suspension system on the inside, so it's meant to take a couple bumps and not have any problems. It just hopped up. You got the smaller tires, and it's a lightweight trailer, so it is going to hop a little bit more than a heavier weight down trailer, but it's okay. Again, it's got that suspension system. It's meant to take a couple bumps. The whole trailer frame is made out of a galvanized steel, so it's going to hold up to those elements. You can even back the thing into the water. It's going to be fine. It's not going to bother. It's not going to rust and corrode. The only thing that's not made out of galvanized steel is our fenders here. they're made out of a plastic or an injected molding, so that's okay. They're still going to hold up just fine. And I'm glad they're there, so it keeps the rocks and dirt and stuff getting kicked up from damage your kayaks, because chances are when you are going kayaking, you're not going to be going on nice paved roads. You're going to have to drive down those dirt roads or those gravel roads, and you don't want rocks kicking up and ruining your kayaks. Another thing that makes this trailer the complete package is the working tail and side marker lights. It runs a 4-pole up to your vehicle, and then it works in tandem with your vehicle. So if I put on the left blinker, that one goes off. I can put on the right, that one goes off. Hit the brakes, it comes on back here. That way you're safe at night. If somebody's behind you, they can see your tail lights, just in case it's covered up by your kayaks here. Another nice addition is the license plate holder and the light that's going to shine down on there. Just help you keep you street legal. Up here at the coupler, I went ahead and unplugged my 4-pole. I'm going to pop the latch up here to release it. Our coupler and trailer will fit a 2-inch ball. I like that they include this handle, easy to lift up and set back down when you need to. I like that the safety chains are included too to help keep you safe. They just go on the loops here of the hitch. But then, easily lift it up and move it away from your vehicle. I like that it's light and maneuverable like that. I don't have a garage, but I have parking spaces in my apartment, and the posts are really close together. So backing this in with my vehicle, there's not enough room to do that. I'd have to detach it and walk in there. That's harder the bigger the trailers get. This one's nice and light. Even with 4 kayaks on there, I'd be able to do it. I just grab the handle and walk into my parking spot, and I'm good. And I like that. The less hassle, the better. Whichever way you want to haul your boat, this trailer is capable of. It comes in a bunch of different kits. You got J-style, V-style, Post style kayak carriers, all 3 of those, and then it also just has bunks you can put on there too to haul your boat that way. Each one of the trailers has the same base that this is. You're just going to have the accessories added onto the bars on top. Now I'm going to take it inside and let's check out how we assembled it. Kind of got everything laid out for how we're going to put this trailer together. Each bag is labeled for different groups, so the instructions actually tell you use this bag with this number for this section of the steps. We're going to go step by step and put this trailer together. If I can find any shortcuts or anything to make it easier on you, I'll let you know. So the first step is going to be putting this grommet in our bottom hole of the tongue here. It's going to be at the front. It's got the Malone sticker on it, so you know this one goes to the top. We're going to put the coupler on here later on, but that was just helping you identify which one this is. So it looks like you just push this plastic grommet in there. It's going to help protect the wires when you run them through, so it won't slowly cut those. Kind of just push them towards the back to guide them back that way. That way they don't come out the front. Now we got it through the first one. We're going to run through the second one. This time, just through the front. We don't have to go through the side. We'll just push that wire back down and through the other side. We ran the wire through both tongues, pushed them together. Now we're going to connect them with these plates. We're just going to push these plates on the side. Make sure you line up the 4 holes with these 4 holes. I got the one already installed on the opposite side. Make sure you line it up. Looks like it's good. Put our bolts through. Go. Good thing about it, if one goes through, all the other ones will be lined up too. With the bolts, push through the holes, we'll go back and just hand tighten the nuts on here. You can come back with a ratchet and a wrench and tighten it down. Now we laid out the bars that are going to make up the frame of our trailer. This is where it gets just a little confusing, but I'm going to give you some pointers here to help you figure it out. You want to arrange them the way you will when the trailer's put together. The center bar, the open part's going to face towards the back. Something to look at on the side ones so you can tell which ones go on the side are these 3 holes here. This is where you're going to put your side marker lights. You want them up towards the front of the trailer, so that's how we knew to flip them and put them this way. If you come back here, you'll see that the back bar says Malone on it, so that's another good indicator of, okay, that bar goes on the back, you set that up there. We're gonna drop some bolts in the holes in every one of the bars and put a nut underneath it. I'm gonna do that on this side. You can see I already did it on that side. Then we're gonna flip it over for the next step. But let's get the bolts installed. I've lined up the parts of the frame. I'm gonna drop the bolts down in there on each one of these. I'm going to loosely tighten them by hand so that we can still move the frame around and make sure it's square before we tighten it down fully. With all the bolts dropped in and hand tightened down, you want to make sure that your frame is actually a square. So when you go to take a look at it, make sure that it's all nice and even. You can measure corner to corner to 58 inches is a good way to tell if it's out of whack or anything like that. That's why you had it loosened. That's why you have it hand tightened so you can actually move it and get it to be a nice square frame. We got it right at 58, 58. So I'm going to go back down now and hand tighten them completely down. Looking at our frame, you can kind of look at and eyeball it to make sure that it is actually nice and square. It's supposed to be 58¼ inches across, so you can measure with your tape measure to make sure that the frame is its box form it's supposed to be. Like, it was a little out of whack at first, and that's why we only loosely put the nuts on everything. That way you can still move the frame in individual parts to get it a nice even square. And now since it's there, we already measured it, I'm going to go back down and fully tighten all the bolts. With all 6 of the bolts put in and tightened down, I can flip the frame around upside down. Then we're going to do the same thing, 6 more bolts installed, tighten those down, and then we'll move on to the next step. Next up is the spring hangers. We're going to put those on the bottom of our frame on both sides. The open one's going to go up front, and the one that's kind of a square will go on the back. We're going to drop our bolts in, just like we did with the frame, and then add a nut underneath. This front one, we're going to just do hand tighten for now, but the back one we can fully tighten once we get the nuts on there. Next up, attaching the tongue to our trailer frame. I'm going to flip it upside down like the rest of our trailer so you can see the sticker Malone is upside down. That means the tongue's upside down. I'm going to come set it over here and line up these holes. I'll move it aside. So there's a hole in the frame. On both of these bars, we're going to line up the holes on our tongue with those and then drop our hardware in. You want to make sure the wiring is also to one side of the tongue so you don't fight with that when you go to drop your bolt in. We got a washer at the end. We'll take our longer one, drop it all the way through the tongue and to the frame underneath. A helpful tip for this part would be go ahead and lift up on the tongue, drop your bolt all the way through so it comes out the bottom. Then it makes it easier to line it up with your frame. And I come back here and use the shorter bolt and washer. Same tip as before, push it down, and it's easier to line up the hole so you can add the nut down here. Now with them hand tightened, we're going to go ahead and back and fully tighten them down. I already did the bolt in the back. Now we'll do the longer bolt up here up front. Now we're going to move on to the axle. We're going to assemble that separately over here, and then we'll attach it to the trailer afterwards. First step, you can look on this side. I've already done it. We're going to attach the spring, add these U-bolts up there, and put this plate on the other side. You see what it looks like? Let's see how we did that. There's a hole in the axle. You'll line it up with this one here. Make sure it's in the middle, nice and balanced. I'll go ahead and set the plate on top, and then bring our U-bolts from underneath. Like, it's got that indention in there that you can line up real easy and keep it in place. You don't have to do any guesswork or anything. Now I'm going to come back with my ratchet and tighten them down, but I'm not going to fully tighten it down. I'm going to get it just enough to where this plate won't pop off and come loose on us. We want to leave it a little bit loose because that's what it says to do in the instructions. We're going to set in our axle now. Make sure the springs up here at the front have a hole through it. Are going to go through these hangers up here. That way we can install that bolt and keep it in there. But before you do that, you want to make sure you slide the flat end into the back hangers. Just like I got that one in. And that's one of the reasons they have you leave it loose, so you can kind of move it and manipulate it as you set them into place. So I got the back ones in. Now line up the front loops and add our bolts. The instructions do say to make sure that the bolt goes from the outside in. So I'm going to lift up on the spring, make sure the bolt goes through that and to the other side, and add a nut. And like most of this trailer, we're going to repeat the same thing on the other side. Another detail that they mention with this bolt is you want to tighten it down, but you don't want to crush it. So once it starts to get tight, just go ahead and stop there. You don't want to push in and bend the spring or anything. That's good. So you want it to be loose enough so the spring can move a little bit and you're not crushing it. Now once you have that one tightened down, then we're going to tighten down these bolts on the hangers. We're going to keep that in place, and then we'll move on to tighten this down. Now it's time to put our tire on. Go ahead and flip it around, make sure the air valve is on the outside of the tire. We'll just match up these bolts to the holes on the tire. Slide it on, then we'll add our lug nuts. Now with the tires on there, we're not ready to torque them down yet. We're going to flip the trailer over and then we'll be able to torque them down with the tires on the ground. I would suggest getting a second set of hands to flip your trailer over. It's a little heavy, but I'm just going to go for it. With the trailer flipped and the tires on the ground, we're going to go ahead and torque it down. Make sure you follow the torque specs in the instructions. We're going to do that in a star pattern for each one of the lug nuts. We're going to take our grommets and put them in the bottom hole here so that we can protect the wiring that's going to connect to our lights. So just like before, just push it in with your thumb. We're going to do that for the other side too. Going to come up here and push another grommet through this one for our side marker lights. Another grommet we need to add is down here at the center beam, the bottommost hole. That's where the wiring is going to pass through, so we want to keep it protected there too. Now we're going to attach our side marker lights to the side of our trailer. You're going to use the center hole for our bolt here in the middle of the light, and then in the side hole, we're just going to run the wire through. Make sure you put your lock washer and your nut on there. Next up, we're going to install our tail lights on our trailer. The driver's side is going to be a little bit different, so that's the one we're going to focus on. We've got our license plate bracket that we're going to put on in between the light and the trailer. You can see the familiar grommet down here. That's where you're going to run your wire. So we'll take our two wires and go ahead and feed those in now. And then line up the bolts and add our washers and nuts. Now we can go back and tighten them down. Now it's time for the wiring. It's not that bad. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to run this wire up to the side marker light first, and then we'll split our wires. We'll go through that grommet we installed earlier. Get that pulled nice and tight. And once we do that, we're going to go ahead and add a clip. That way it just holds our wire here. Get the clip on there, just put it on the edge. I would suggest hold on to the top and then tapping the bottom part with the hammer, and that'll get it in place. With the clip installed, I recommend coming back with like a screwdriver to go ahead and pry up on it. That way you can feed the wire in there. With our driver's side wire ran up to the front and clipped in, we could tell that it was the driver's side because it's yellow and brown. Your passenger side is going to be green and brown. And you're going to do these same steps for that side, but that's how you're going to separate the wires to go down here, back to that tail light, and then on the passenger side, same thing. So what we're going to do now to get our wire ready is I'm going to cut in between the wire down here. You can see I kind of ran it like it's going to be ran. So we'll run it here, attach it, and run it back. So they're about here. So I'm going to cut in between these wires with the blade and separate it so we can make our connection. I just put the blade down in the middle and then pulled on the wire separately. It was a nice even cut. Now it's separated like we want. Take one of the quick connectors that's included. I'll run the black wire into the shorter side of it, and then we're going to push the brown wire into the top side. Make sure it's down in there and into the channel. There we go. Then we'll come back with some pliers and push down on this metal tab. It's going to go through both wires, making that connection for you. Test our connections. It's good. I'll take the wire and run it back the way we came. Run along the end of the trailer here, back to our taillights. I'm going to take my knife and cut down the middle of it to split it. You just need to cut a little bit, and you can do the rest through hands. Now we're going to attach our yellow wire to our yellow wire, and our brown wire to our brown wire. But first, we got to strip these wires so that you have it exposed, just like these are. Got some wire strippers. It's going to help us clamp down on there and pull it out. We'll go ahead and twist our wires together before we put our twist nut on. Then feed up in the very top of there and twist it again. You should grab those wires and twist them together. You can feel it grabbing and actually see the wires twist too. We're going to do the same thing for our yellow one. So we went along, added some more clips here to take up that access wiring. When you do it at home, when you build it for your time, it might be better for you just to go ahead and trim it here, trim it to length, and you don't have any excess wiring. We aren't going to keep this trailer like this. We're going to disassemble it when we're done, so I don't want to cut any of the wire. Now it's time to add the fenders. How we're going to do that is we're going to put the brackets on there first, putting a bolt and a nut through each one here, and then we'll add the fender on top of that. So to do so, like I said, got a shorter bolt and the nut. You can put the bracket with it angled down. You want the dip pointed down because the fender is going to fit down in that groove itself. So and you just want to loosely put this on because you want to be able to move the brackets a little bit when you go to put the fender on. So we'll just leave it like that for now. I'll repeat that process on the second one. Should be the last two holes left in the back of your trailer here, so easy to identify and install these brackets. Now I'm going to set the fender down on the brackets, trying to match up the holes. And that's why we left them loose, so we can move them up like this. I'll grab my hardware. I'm going to get one started so that it holds it in place. You can kind of move the bracket with this hand, line up with the holes on the fender, drop the bolt through, and we're going to add a nut to the back. With it all loosely installed, I'm going to go ahead and tighten down these bolts to the trailer. It's going to lift this up, and then we'll go ahead and tighten the bolts down on our fender. Back up towards the front of the tongue of our trailer, we're going to start putting this part together. We're going to add the stop at the bottom. Let's just go ahead and do that now. It's going to help hold up the trailer while we're working on it anyway. You got a tab underneath there. You're going to slide into like that. We'll set it back down and it'll hold it in place. We're going to make our ground here at the front of the tongue of the trailer. I went ahead and stripped back the wire just like you saw me do before. Now I'm going to add this ring terminal. It's in there nice and tight. Now what we're going to do is come back to the front of the tongue, and we got a couple different things going on, but we'll start with adding this at the bottom. It'll work as the stand. If you guys can see under there, it's going to insert that tab. I had it the wrong way. Insert the tab back here, and we'll add a bolt up here up in front. But for now, it'll work and help it hold up. Now we're going to use the bolt, and we're going to secure the stand and the chains and ground the wire at the same time. So the chains are going to go on the outside. We'll put a washer on our bolt, follow up with the chain links. Then we'll add another washer and put it through the hole. Now it's going up to the inside, and what I'll do there before I put the nut on there is add our ground. Just goes on top. Then I'll add the nut. Come back with my ratchet and wrench and tighten it down. Threw a block of wood under there just to get up a little higher off the ground, easier to get this ratchet in here. Now that we're done on the inside of the tongue, we're going to attach our coupler and handle. So I've already run the bolts through the handle, the holes here. We're going to line with the holes here. We'll set this on top, line up the holes in the tongue, and then just put our bolts through it. They go to the other side. We'll just put some nuts on there like we've done for most of this trailer. When it comes to tightening this down, we're just going to get it tight against the tongue of the trailer. No reason to go any further than that. Now we're going to go ahead and put our end caps on our bars. You're going to make sure you do it towards the top by that single hole. The double holes will be at the bottom of our bars because we're going to put them around the frame here. So you can get a block of wood and a hammer, or you can easily just push down on it and it goes into place. So I'll line it up with the corner of our frame here, making sure this top hole is right above the frame. I've got my U-bolt. Come back down, tighten it down, and then we'll repeat this process on all the corners of the trailer. Now, the last part is to install our crossbar. What we're going to do is install these clamps on the bars we just finished tightening down. Just going to run a bolt through, lining up the holes, add a nut to the other side. That way it's loosely installed, and then I'll just start to go ahead and put the bar in there now. Before I get it tightened down. It's a little different than what the instructions said, but I just kind of found this easier myself. I'm going to loosely put the other bolt in, then we're going to look and make sure it's even on both sides before I fully tighten this down. The other bolt, you'll just lift up on the bar, put it underneath it, and it holds it up towards the top of this bracket. Once again, add a nut. We'll loosely install it, get it even on both sides, and then I'm going to tighten it down. Now we're going to come back with the length a little bit over 10 on each side. It's nice and even. We're going to go ahead and tighten it down, keep everything in place. Now the final step, we're gonna add our end caps to the end of the bars. I already did it to the other three. Much like the ones we did earlier, just push it on there, goes right into place. Now your trailer is assembled. As you saw, it wasn't that bad. Really just followed it step by step. Really just a bunch of bolts and nuts is what you're adding, and you're just repeating every step on the other side. So it's good practice on this side, you'll nail it on the other side. That's how I did it. Now there are a few notes on it. I will compare it to some of the other Malone trailers. The wiring, I didn't like it as much on this one because it had the quick connectors. Malone and the other ones I've worked with have bullet connectors where you just plug them in, easy, done. They're sealed, it's no splicing, no channel locks or anything like that. I didn't like that on this one, and I would suggest not even using the quick locks it comes with. I would get some heat shrink butt connectors. That way you can get it nice and sealed and a good connection, and it's waterproof. So if you do leave your trailer out in the water, you don't have to worry about that getting to it, bothering the wiring, affecting anything, or if you back up your trailer into the water, again, it just further protects you down the line. One other small nitpick I had for this was the ground wire. It wasn't very long. We had to extend it. I put some electrical tape and loom over it to cover it up and keep it nice all together, but it was a little disappointing to have only that much, and it was pulled really tight, so you wouldn't be able to drive your trailer like that. I suggest go ahead and extending that ground wire to help yourself out in the long run. We'll put our center mast that we're going to lean the kayaks up against in the middle, and how I did that is I kind of looked at this hole here in the center of the bars and helped me line up where I'm going to set this bar to line up with that one. And we're going to take these two clamps. Now if you look at the clamps, one is bigger than the other one. The bigger one's going to go on top. The smaller one's made just to fit this rail, so you can see how it's smaller indention there. It's going to go on the bottom. I'm going to hold it in place while I grab the hardware. Then I'm going to take a bolt, drop it down through the top. Make sure you turn it so that the square part of the bolt fits in the square part of the bracket. And then I'll put this washer on there and then follow it with a nut. It's a little tricky to try and hold it all in place, but it's not too bad. Just want to get it started, and I'll come back with a ratchet and tighten it down. Just come back with the ratchet. I can only get a couple turns with my hand on there, so this will get it up there and get it snugged more tight. Just want to get a couple more turns out of it. Make sure it's nice and tight. Don't worry, it's not as hard as I made it look. Just when you're starting and you're trying to hold it all in place, it can be a little cumbersome as you're getting one nut on there, and I could barely get it started. So when I did get started, you really need the ratchet to run it all the way down, and then that's still a balancing act while you're going back and forth. But really, it's not that hard. It's on there. Now we're going to add our foam blocks and just separate them. They fit around the bar, just like that. Put one on each side. We're only going to use 2 kayaks today, so we're just going to put 4 of the foam blocks on. You still have 4 extra ones, so if you're going to carry and maximize out your trailer with all 4 kayaks, you could install those too. But like I said, we just got 2 today, so we're only going to use these blocks. Now we're going to add our straps so they're ready to load up the kayaks. You're going to grab one end. It's got 2 loops here in the center post. And go in the top one and come out the bottom. You can pull that out. You're going to make sure your buckle goes on top. So then we can spread these out and they won't get tangled up when we add our kayaks. Then just easily set this one on top, bring this one down on the bottom, and then attach them here with a kayak in between. Let's do that now. With the kayak loaded, I'll bring both ends of the strap over the top. We have our buckle that's going to stay here. It's got the padding, it's going to protect our kayak. I'm going to run the other strap underneath our top bar here, that way it has something to pull down against. Then we're going to run the strap up through the buckle and tighten it down. That strap's installed. I'm going to repeat the process on this back one here. Now they also include a blue strap, and that's used to hold the kayaks together. So if we were doing 4 kayaks, you'd put one blue strap around the 2 kayaks on this side and one blue strap on the kayaks on that side, and it just pulls them together and holds them in the center. Now we only have 2 on there today, so I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it around the center here of these 2. I ran it down and underneath, ran it through the buckle. We'll get pulled nice and tight. Just further stability. Well, that does it for our look at the Malone EcoLight trailer. I hope this helped.